A calm morning turns unsettling when Ethan Cole, a quiet widower and former architect, opens his mailbox. Nestled between a grocery flyer and an electric bill is an envelope stamped Urgent HO Notice. Inside, a formal letter printed on ivory paper. Violation 784A, unauthorized outbuilding detected. Immediate removal required, he reads it twice, frowning. The unauthorized outbuilding was a small wooden shed, barely visible from the street, where he kept his late father's tools. Those tools were his only connection to the man who'd taught him everything about building, patience, and pride. Ethan stands in his backyard, gazing at the shed. The morning sun makes the varnished wood glow warmly, the kind of craftsmanship that told stories, not just of wood, but of memory. But the HOA doesn't see stories. They see rules. He folds the letter carefully, sighs, and mutters, "They can find me all they want." I'm not tearing that down. Just as he turns to head inside, a metallic clang echoes faintly from the shed, like something shifting inside. He freezes, brows furrowed. The wind rustles the oak leaves above. Then, silence. He steps forward, hand on the shed's old brass handle, unaware this was the moment everything in his quiet neighborhood would change. The next morning, as Ethan waters his small garden, the rhythmic crunch of heels on gravel interrupts him. Karen Holt, HOA President, stands at the gate, clipboard hugged to her chest like a weapon. She's the kind of neighbor who wears perfection like armor. Pastel cardigan, pressed slacks, forced smile. "Mr. Cole," she greets, "we received reports about an unregistered structure." "Reports?" Ethan repeats, glancing toward the shed. "From who?" Karen's smile tightens. "The HOA operates on visibility, not gossip. Everything must be uniform here." Ethan crosses his arms. "It's not visible from the street, and it's on my property." "No issue there." Karen leans in, voice lowering, the neighborly act gone. "The HOA has eyes everywhere. Some things aren't about visibility. They're about compliance." Her tone carries something beyond regulation, almost personal. Ethan just nods, holding her gaze. "Then maybe the rules need updating." She walks away stiffly, but that night, his camera catches her circling the shed with a flashlight, her expression calculating. The footage ends abruptly, as if the power to that camera cut out right when she reached the shed's door. Ethan wakes to another clank. That same metallic scrape from before. It's 2:47 a.m. He grabs a flashlight and steps into the cold air. His lawn crunches beneath his bare feet as he nears the shed. The door is slightly ajar, creaking in the breeze. Inside, the light cuts through floating dust. Everything seems undisturbed until he notices the missing toolbox, the one that belonged to his father. It sat on the workbench every night, heavy, unmovable. Now gone. A chill climbs Ethan's spine, not from theft, but violation. Someone had touched his memories. On the bench sits a folded piece of paper, an HOA flyer for an upcoming community meeting. But it's been folded into the shape of a tiny house, a taunt. The shed's light flickers, and for half a second, Ethan swears he sees a shadow move across the small window outside. By sunrise, Ethan's paranoia has transformed into resolve. He installs a tiny hidden camera in the shed, tucked beneath the rafters, invisible from the door. That night, he sits at his desk watching the live feed. Midnight passes. Then, movement. Karen. Her flashlight beam cuts through the darkness as she steps inside, muttering under her breath. She moves slowly, methodically, not like someone investigating, but like someone searching. She kneels, running her fingers across the floorboards, then stops. Her hand trembles over one particular plank. She pries it open. The camera catches her eyes widen, a flash of shock, then panic. She covers the hole quickly and leaves. Ethan replays the footage, zooming in, trying to see what she saw under the floorboards. All he catches is the reflection of metal. The next morning, Ethan lifts the same floorboard. Beneath it, he finds a small rusted metal box, coated in dust and oil. He opens it carefully. Inside, neatly folded documents, old blueprints, legal papers, and a faded property deed. His name isn't on it. But Samuel Holt's is Karen's last name. He flips through the pages. The year reads 1952. The structure described: Lot 14 Auxiliary Storage, Firehouse Annex. That shed wasn't built illegally. It was historic property, built when Karen's grandfather owned the land. Somehow, it had passed into Ethan's property decades later. Ethan exhales, a mix of confusion and realization flooding him. Karen didn't want the shed removed because it broke rules. She wanted what was inside. Ethan looks up at the shed walls. Faint scorch marks line the beams. Something had once burned there. Ethan finds Karen waiting outside his gate that evening, as if she knew he'd confront her. Her calm facade cracks the moment he speaks. "Your grandfather's name is on my deed. You've known that all along, haven't you?" Karen's jaw tightens, eyes flickering with something between fear and guilt. "You don't understand what's buried under that shed," she whispers. "It's not about property lines, Mr. Cole. It's about legacy." Before he can ask, she turns and leaves, trembling, her clipboard forgotten on the ground. That night, Ethan finds another letter under his door. No name, no signature. If you dig deeper, you'll regret it. He stares at it for a long time before heading outside, shovel in hand. The moonlight glints off the shed's roof as he pushes the blade into the soil beneath the floorboards. Thunk. Metal again. He kneels, brushing away the dirt, revealing the edge of a buried metal trunk. And a faint engraving reads, "Holt Fire Rescue, 1952. The night is heavy with silence. The moon hangs pale and distant as Ethan brushes the dirt off the trunk's lid. Its metal is dull, weathered, but still solid. He runs his fingers over the engraving, "Holt Fire Rescue, 1952. He hesitates, then unclasps the latches. Creak. Click inside are objects wrapped in waxed cloth. He peels one open, revealing a tarnished firefighter's badge, its engraving nearly worn smooth. Another cloth holds old photographs, black and white, showing a small volunteer fire team in front of the very same shed, decades younger, and at the bottom, a thick folder labeled Fire Incident Report, Lot 14, June 1952. He opens it. The first line makes his breath catch. "Cause of fire, deliberate containment to protect neighboring homes. Casualty, 1 fatality, Captain Samuel Holt." Ethan steps back, heart pounding. Karen's grandfather died right here. Suddenly, every strange look, every threat, every rule she threw at him, it all made sense. The shed wasn't just wood and nails. It was a grave. Camera pans from Ethan's shocked face to the flickering bulb above the shed, as though the past itself is restless. The next morning, Ethan finds a sealed envelope slipped under his door. No HOA logo this time, no signature. Inside, a single sheet. "If you found the trunk, we need to talk. Meet me at dusk, behind the oak line. The handwriting is unmistakable. Karen's." He debates ignoring it. But something in her trembling words from last night lingers. Legacy. Buried secrets. At dusk, the light is golden and thin. The air smells of wet pine and tension. Karen stands there without her clipboard, without her perfect posture, just tired eyes and a folded photograph in her hand. "You found the firebox," she says quietly. "Then you know what they never told the HOA. Ethan frowns. "That your grandfather died saving people?" Karen's eyes fill with tears she doesn't bother hiding. "He didn't just die saving people, Mr. Cole. He died covering for them." The camera zooms, slowly on her trembling hand as she unfolds the old photo. The volunteer crew again, but one man's face is blurred out with ash. Karen tells the story in fragments, her voice quivering between anger and grief. "It was the 4th of July, 1952. A fuel tank exploded near this lot. The fire spread faster than anyone expected. My grandfather's team contained it, but they found out it wasn't an accident. Someone was storing illegal fuel drums under that shed. The records were sealed to protect the property owner." Ethan stiffens. "And the owner was?" She looks at him, eyes sharp. "Your grandfather, Mr. Cole." Silence. Ethan feels the ground tilt beneath him. That can't be. My father told me. I know what your father told you, Karen interrupts softly. But the fire wasn't just a tragedy. It was a cover-up. Samuel Holt took the blame to keep your family from losing everything. He died in that blaze because he thought he was protecting you. The weight of her words presses like smoke in his lungs. Two families, bound by a secret no one ever wanted unearthed. Ethan looks toward the shed again. The camera pans down to the black scorch marks on its wall, the same burns that refuse to fade with time. Karen's voice trembles as she digs into her bag and pulls out a cassette tape. Its label faded and cracked. I found this years ago in my father's attic. It was recorded the night before the fire. They walk into the shed, the air heavy with dust and memory. Ethan plugs an old tape player into a power strip and hits play. Static. Then a voice. Sam, it's Joseph. I stored them under the annex. It's only temporary, I swear. We'll move them after the parade. Ethan's heart sinks. Joseph, his grandfather. The recording continues, panicked, then cut short by a loud boom. Silence. Karen wipes her eyes. That's how it happened. My grandfather tried to contain your grandfather's mistake. And this shed, this cursed ground, became a monument of guilt. The tape clicks off. The single light bulb swings slightly overhead, its chain creaking, as if the air itself is heavy with confession. The next day, Karen and Ethan meet again, not as enemies, but as co-conspirators of truth. Karen opens her HOA binder and spreads documents across Ethan's table. The board knew about this, she says bitterly. They've been planning to demolish your shed for years, not because of a rule, but because of what's buried beneath it. They want the land rezoned for commercial use. Ethan scans the papers, signatures, dates, maps. The HOA had already sold the permit. A demolition crew was scheduled for next week. His hands curl into fists. They'll bury the truth with it. Karen nods. Unless we make them see it first. The plan begins to form. Soft piano, underscoring a shot of Ethan clearing out the shed, wrapping his father's tools, setting the badge on the table, preparing for battle. Not with fists, but with truth. They organize a community meeting, under the pretense of property reassessment. But Ethan and Karen have other intentions. As the neighbors gather in folding chairs, the projector hums to life. Ethan takes the stage, calm, steady, eyes scanning the room of people who once whispered about him. You all know me as the man with the ugly shed, he starts dryly. But what you don't know is that this shed was built by the very people who made this community safe, including your own grandparents. He clicks the remote. Photographs appear on the screen. The 1952 fire, Samuel Holt, the volunteers, the charred remains of the lot. The crowd grows silent. Karen steps up beside him, her voice trembling but resolute. We can't erase history because it's inconvenient. My grandfather died here. His story, and this ground, deserve respect, not demolition. The crowd begins murmuring, realization spreading like slow fire. The HOA board members shift uncomfortably. Just as the meeting seems to calm, the HOA treasurer, an older man named Mr. Langley, stands. You two shouldn't have shown that tape, he warns. You're tampering with sealed evidence. Ethan steps forward, voice unwavering. Evidence that clears your conscience or mine? Langley's face pales. The room gasps. Karen pulls out the deed, the one with Samuel Holt's signature, and slams it on the table. This land isn't just mine or his. It's both our families. We're done living under silence. The audience erupts, not in chaos, but in support. Neighbors begin clapping. Someone shouts, "Let the shed stand!" Langley storms out, realizing the narrative is lost. Karen exhales shakily, smiling through tears. Ethan looks at her, not as an adversary, but as someone who finally understands. Looks like our grandfathers both saved this place, he says softly. Just in different ways. The shed door creaks open behind them, a gust of evening wind passing through, as if the ghosts within finally exhaled too. The next morning, Ethan opens his door to find a new violation notice nailed to his gate. In bold red ink, Unauthorized gathering. Breach of community policy. Fines pending. Immediate compliance required. He looks up to see a convoy of SUVs idling at the corner, HOA board members stepping out like an army of bureaucrats. Langley leads them, his eyes narrow and cold. You think you can turn the neighborhood against us with your little show? You broke more rules than you know, Cole. Ethan stays silent, jaw tight. Then Karen steps out from behind her car, still holding her binder, but with something different in her stance now, defiance. You're not fining him for truth, Langley, she says. You're just afraid it's out there now, and that it leads back to your signature on the demolition deal. The crowd begins to form again, neighbors whispering, watching. Langley glances at the shed, its faded red boards glowing under the morning light. That thing comes down tomorrow, he growls. I'll make sure of it. Camera pans to Ethan's clenched fist, his reflection in the shed's old window, promise of resistance burning behind his eyes. That evening, Ethan finds Karen sitting on the edge of her car trunk, staring at the shed under the soft hum of the streetlights. She looks torn. You were brave today, Ethan says quietly. She shakes her head. You don't know everything, Ethan. I signed the first violation notice. He freezes. When you moved in, I was still trying to please them. I didn't even look at what they wanted. I just signed because they said your shed was unsightly. I didn't know it was this. Her voice breaks. Every day since then, I've been trying to undo that mistake. Ethan sighs. Not angry, just tired. You can't change what they made you do, but you're changing what comes next. The silence between them becomes something human again. Fragile but real. Slow pan to both of them standing side by side, gazing at the shed. The place that started their war now becoming their shared purpose. Rain falls hard that night. Thunder rolls across the hills. Ethan wakes to a distant crash. He grabs a flashlight and steps out, the beam slicing through sheets of rain. Then he sees it. The shed door, half open, swinging violently in the wind. Someone's inside, he calls out, no answer. He moves closer. The beam catches a figure in a black hoodie, crouched over the floorboards, pouring gasoline. Hey! Ethan yells. The figure bolts, slipping on the mud, dropping the can. Ethan chases, but the rain drowns everything. The intruder leaps into a waiting car and speeds away. Ethan stares as the taillights vanish into the storm. His shed, the truth, was about to be erased again. The lightning flashes, illuminating the gasoline trail leading right to the shed's base. The flame from a nearby lantern flickers dangerously close. The next morning, the smell of smoke lingers. The shed didn't burn, but the intruder succeeded in scorching one wall before fleeing. Karen rushes over, soaked and pale. They tried to destroy it, didn't they? Ethan nods grimly. Yeah, but they failed. Then he notices something strange. The fire melted part of the outer layer, revealing a metal plate embedded beneath the wood. He scrapes away soot, and what he finds stuns them both. An engraved plaque, nearly hidden for decades. Dedicated to Captain Samuel Holt, who gave his life protecting Holt Creek. Karen's voice cracks. That's my grandfather's memorial. It wasn't just a shed. It was his memorial structure, built by the town before the HOA ever existed. Ethan and Karen exchange a look, both knowing this discovery changes everything. Ethan and Karen march into the HOA office, muddy, tired, but with new strength. Karen slams the metal plate on the table. Explain this, Langley. Langley stiffens. That's irrelevant to... No, it's not, Ethan cuts in. This was built as a public memorial before your board was even formed. You've been fining me over sacred ground. Karen pulls out copies of the demolition contracts, pointing to signatures. You used the rezoning money to fund your side business, didn't you? Langley's mask breaks. His voice cracks. You don't understand. This community needs control. Chaos starts when people think they're free. Ethan steps forward, calm and sharp. Control isn't community. It's fear dressed in paperwork. The boardroom erupts. Neighbors, now fully awake, shouting for his resignation. Karen drops her badge, the HOA emblem, onto the table, and walks out beside Ethan. The symbol of submission stays behind. Later that night, as Ethan sorts through the scorched remnants of the shed, he finds one last hidden compartment. Inside, a sealed envelope yellowed with age. It's addressed to whoever restores this place. Please forgive us. The letter is signed, Joseph Cole and Samuel Holt. The two men had reconciled, before the end, deciding to preserve the shed as a silent act of repentance and remembrance. Ethan's hands tremble as he reads aloud, "We built this together, not as neighbors, but as brothers who made a mistake. Let this stand so others remember. Truth burns, but it also cleanses." Karen listens, tears streaming. "They found peace before they died, and we almost destroyed it again." The camera lingers on their faces in the flickering light, showing the generations of weight finally lifting weeks later. The shed is fully restored, painted red again, but now with a plaque proudly displayed out front. Neighbors gather for a small ceremony. Ethan steps up to speak, voice steady, heart light. This shed was once a source of division, but it's really a story about unity, about people who faced their worst mistakes and still tried to do what's right. He looks at Karen, who smiles softly, eyes glistening. "And maybe," she adds, "some rules need breaking, when they hide what truly matters." As the crowd claps, sunlight spills over the shed's roof, gleaming on the brass plaque like a silent blessing. The camera pans upward, from the plaque to the sky, where smoke and clouds drift together, indistinguishable, peaceful. The fire department and the county commission show up a few days later, responding to the arson attempt report. Ethan provides the footage from his security cameras, clear as day, showing Langley's nephew sneaking into the yard that stormy night. It's enough to start a full investigation. Karen watches as uniformed officers escort Langley out of his office in handcuffs, his eyes burning with bitter disbelief. "You'll thank me someday," he sneers as they lead him away. "People like you need rules. Otherwise, this place falls apart." Ethan doesn't respond. He just glances toward the restored shed in the distance, standing strong through every storm. Karen whispers quietly, "Funny, the only thing holding this neighborhood together now is truth." The camera lingers on the empty HOA signboard outside Langley's office, its letters rattling in the wind, half fallen, half hanging, like the last gasp of control. Weeks pass. A new HOA meeting is held, this time in Ethan's backyard. No suits, no name tags, no podiums, just people, chairs, and coffee. Ethan didn't want to lead anything, but the neighbors insisted he at least guide the meeting. Karen, now stripped of title but not purpose, stands beside him with a calm strength that feels earned. "We can't erase what this board became," Ethan tells the group, "but we can make sure it never happens again." Someone from the back adds, "Let's call it the Holt-Cole Committee for Fairness and Heritage." The name feels right. It's not about power anymore, it's about balance. Karen smiles, looking around the yard. The same community she once ruled through fear, now talking freely, laughing even. As the meeting ends, a neighbor steps forward, handing Ethan a small envelope. "This came to the old HOA mailbox, addressed to you." Ethan opens the envelope once he's alone. Inside, and a short-typed note, "You may have won this round, but the HOA isn't gone. People like Langley have roots that grow deeper than you think. Watch your shed." No signature. Ethan folds the note carefully, tucks it into the same box that once held the old blueprints. He looks out toward the shed, lights glowing softly from the inside. Not fear in his eyes this time, readiness. Karen joins him moments later, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Another warning?" He nods. "Then let's keep the lights on." The shot pulls back, showing the shed's lights glowing like a beacon in the dark, surrounded by the quiet homes it now protects. A week later, Karen visits the local historical society. She submits the full record of the Holt Fire Annex, every document, every letter, every blueprint Ethan uncovered. "I'm the one who buried this truth for years," she says to the curator. "Now I want it preserved." The curator nods softly. Then you've done your part to rebuild more than a shed. You've rebuilt history. Outside, Karen stops by the community notice board, where the HOA's old slogan, "Preserve Order," has been replaced with a new one, "Preserve Truth." She smiles, finally free from the guilt that once defined her. For the first time, she feels like home doesn't mean uniform lawns or perfect siding. It means honesty, even when it's messy. She looks at the shed one last time before heading home, and for a split second, she sees the faint reflection of her grandfather's face in the glass, watching, proud. Months later, autumn paints the neighborhood gold. Ethan opens the shed every morning now, not to work but to reflect. Inside, the tools have been cleaned and displayed, and a small wooden plaque now reads, "In memory of Samuel Holt and Joseph Cole, two men who built more than they knew." The camera pans across, photos, letters, and one new addition, a community guest book, filled with notes from neighbors. Each message is a story of forgiveness, rebuilding, and the slow repair of trust. Karen arrives with a small box in her hands. Inside is a single item, the old HOA gavel, once used to enforce fines and silence voices. She places it quietly on the shelf beside the memorial. "Let it rest here," she says, "where it can't hurt anyone anymore." Ethan smiles faintly. Agreed, some things are meant to end, so better things can begin. They step outside together as wind stirs through the trees. The camera slowly tilts up, showing the shed glowing in the amber sunset, the community gathered for a barbecue in the background, laughter echoing softly. The plaque gleams in the light, and in the reflection of the polished brass, we see both their faces side by side. Not enemies, not victims, just two people who turned conflict into legacy.